that working now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's the beauty of technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for dialing in. Obviously, I've known Jamie a bit more than Colin, but I'll let you introduce yourselves. But yeah, I'm really interested to know the history of Wrapt. I've actually never spoken to you in detail about it, Jamie, but when the idea started, the whole history of the company, basically. I'm really interested also in how you were successful with applying for an Innovate UK grant, because it's said to be a very low in success rate. We did actually apply for a grant and we weren't successful. But I guess maybe it wasn't that sustainable. It was linked to sustainability. And then obviously all your workflow, how big is your team, the challenges of having your own company, the challenges of running your company. I know a few people who've done pretty much the same thing as you, but they haven't been that successful. Oh no, I wouldn't say successful, but they had to stop and close the company. The first success is to create the company. It's not to close it. But yeah, and everything about materials, reusing materials, and your future plans. But can I ask you to introduce yourselves first, Jamie?
Yeah.
Sorry.
My name, I'm Jamie Keats, and then director at Wrapt Homes.
Hi there, I'm Colin Monroe, the other director of Wrapt Homes. So Jamie and I co-founded the business together. Pushing from concept about 3 years ago, from registering the business probably about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe about 4 years ago since we initially spoke about it during lockdown.
Gosh, yeah. Well, there you go. It's a time warp.
Yeah. So, what's your background, basically? Let's start with this. Obviously, I know Jamie, but people probably don't know that.
Yeah. So my background, I'm an architect, qualified in 2019, and I studied at the Glasgow School of Art, and then later at the Centre of Alternative Technology in Wales. So they focus on sustainability and bring sustainability into construction and design. Yeah. From there on, I did a lot of freelancing work in London, where I'm from, where I had, I guess, limited success in getting sustainability into projects. I think when it came to it, often that was an area that was not prioritized. Eventually, I ended up moving to Leeds in 2019 to work for Situ. They're a house builder building low carbon homes up to akin to passive house standards. And I worked there in product development for Situ. So my role there was a product owner. So that was a new role for them, which was basically overseeing the whole system and improvements. So yeah, that's where I got to know Mark, when we had some, using natural materials. And I think I was looking at party wall scenarios. Yeah. So yeah, after Situ, so I was at Situ for 4 years. And then, during that time, me and Colin began talking about Wrapt, and then started Wrapt, which we went full time into in 2 years ago, so 2023. And the idea of Wrapt was it's kind of evolved over time. I mean, part of the initial concept was kind of trying to do what house builder is able to do in terms of new build construction and taking that into retrofit. So kind of applying the same approaches to various properties, and then also combining the design, assessment, delivery. So that whole kind of through customer journey into one business. So you can kind of make that whole journey a lot simpler for people, a lot easier for people. Yeah, I probably starting by saying we're both kind of taken by the impact that retrofit would have on the UK in terms of it's such a retrofit is such a large part. We need to retrofit about 27 million homes, and there's just not enough of it being done. So wanted to see what we can do, put our skills to work towards that challenge. It's a massive challenge. It's a really exciting challenge to be a part of. There's a really nice community in retrofit of people willing to share and collaborate together. So yeah, that was also a big driver in wanting to kind of make an impact in retrofit rather than new build.
Okay, cool. How about you, Colin?
So yeah, I also studied in Glasgow, and I not at the School of Art. However, I studied general practice surveying at Glasgow Caledonian University. I got to meet Jamie. Actually, I was a ringer for their the architects football team who could never pull together. A full team of 5 in the 5-a-side league at Glasgow University. A friend of a friend introduced me, so I got to know Jamie through playing 5-a-side football originally, and actually went on to meet my partner, who I'm with right now through Jamie. She was Jamie's flatmate. So yeah, I studied general practice surveying. For me, lots of people, the pathway would be into, I guess, the surveying agency, working for the likes of CBRE, Savills, and so on. But I was always interested in I guess the development side, so I went on to study sustainable urban development at Malmo University in Sweden. Then off the back of that, worked at a company called Bouygues, who you're probably familiar with, Mark.
I know it very well.
As a Frenchman. Bouygues Construction, who do many things, one of which is property development. So I worked as a development manager there for 11 years. So that's where I really cut my teeth, is in the property development space. But with Jamie, alongside Jamie, my passion and what I care about is always been sustainability. And very similar to Jamie's experiences, and it's not for the want of trying, across lots of people in the industry, but the dreaded value engineering word comes into play, and the economics of a project, the process. Far too often, there's the sustainability objectives and aspirations are often a casualty along the way, and you end up at bare minimum regulation is where you land. That's just the harsh reality sometimes of, I guess, the industry.
Absolutely, yes.
So anyway, the opportunity to set up Wrapt and have much more direct impact was so exciting. Jamie, who sort of first kind of, we went out for a cup of coffee, and Jamie sort of fielded the idea. And we've not really looked back since then. And the opportunity to have direct impact, sustainability, which is multifaceted, because it's not just carbon, it's health and well-being and quality, and happiness for residents, and it's also an opportunity to universally, I guess, impart the benefits of the sustainability agenda, because the vast majority of the homes are already built, and frankly they're where the poorest quality of the living environments are. It's not necessarily the new build space that needs the attention.
Okay, can you summarize what Wrapt does exactly? Because I know, but if anybody who's never heard about Wrapt, maybe they want to know. Currently, obviously, I know you've got future plans.
Yes. So Wrapt, what we do is we make homes more energy efficient in short, but obviously there's a massive space of different companies working in that area. We got more of a focus on older properties that are more challenging, sometimes need to be insulated using natural materials. So we've definitely got ourselves a bit of a niche in there. Yeah, we focus on that that whole end-to-end journey. So being able to talk to a customer who kind of is exploring what they want, being able to give them that energy advice, being able to look at any design elements which come up quite frequently, like, shall I adapt the kitchen as I'm doing it? There's, do I need a structural engineer for this bit? We can handle those design bits. And then also the construction side. Yeah, we've got a team of 6 people on site delivering work. So we have that direct control over the direct delivery. So basically the ability to take someone from kind of wanting to make their home warmer and more sustainable right through to kind of a completed house.
Okay. And do you do anything else as well? Or do you communicate yet on the developments? Maybe we can discuss it later as well.
We can talk about it, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Do you want to mention it now, or should we keep it for the end?
What I mean,
as a teaser.
I mean, what I would say is that, like, we design and deliver energy efficiency solutions, and with this with the fabric first, obviously, approach, and that's what we have in house, is that ability through our internal sort of joinery and finishing team, so plastering as well, to deliver that directly. And I think it's integral to own that in terms of quality control and managing the client's journey. But all the while, actually, something that really excites Jamie is like the real need for disruption, change, innovation in the space of retrofit. It's a bit of a wicked problem at times. There's so many factors at play and problems to solve. We think, challenging the status quo is the way to actually get a meaningful and change at the rate we need to be achieving it at, is that we need to do things differently. And with that, we're looking at various things, including the prefabrication of internal wall insulation panels to reduce disruption and cost, which are massive barriers currently, to also looking at various different services that hit different price points and are potentially, looking at air tightness, which is a big, often overlooked issue, drafts. So looking at also services that meet different price points and not necessarily always catering to big budgets as well. So that's the space that certainly, I think it's fair to say, gets Jamie and I quite excited about being able to deploy. And with an in-house team, we are able to deploy our ideas pretty effectively and quickly, and also iterate them.
When did you start thinking about the idea? I'll ask you, I've got loads of questions about, I saw on your website there was like a consultation, like book a free consultation. I'm interested to know how that goes, and all the other smaller services, I guess, more affordable services. But we'll talk about this later. So when did you think of doing this, and when did you incorporate the company actually?
Well, it kind of, I guess, emerged during lockdown, when having a lot of like time to think about things, and living in a terrace house that was very cold and leaky, and then understanding what the issues would be. I think, initially I'd always thought, like, that's where the name Wrapt came from, was we'd wrap the house from the outside. And I think we'd always kind of envisaged, like, oh, we'll do external wall insulation and like make it off-site and wrap houses quickly, and the business just evolved, because after we I guess we spent quite a lot of time throwing about different ideas of how to attack, I guess, the problem of retrofit, which angle to go at it from. I think we probably about a 6-month period of like just talking of like how should we do it? Should we go this angle, that angle? And the next step was we decided to get a house and do it up, and that would be the way we would learn. And and then the house was in a conservation area. We hadn't realized that at the time, so we had to insulate it from the inside rather than the outside to avoid getting planning permission. Then we just so there's been, I guess, a lot of evolution over time as to arriving where we're going. But I guess the original, probably our original concept, was being able to do things off-site and do them really quickly. So in a sense, what we're doing now in developing the prefabricated wall system is feels like we're just arcing back to where we'd always wanted to come at the problem from. And but I guess we've picked up a lot of knowledge along the way. Like we've made a lot of mistakes. We've had to change a lot of the approach we're doing. Like, certainly having our own like directly employed team I don't think that was ever the plan from the start. I don't think it was. But anyway, we had loads of issues with subcontractors and like trying to get the quality in place. It's not enjoyable. You're just arguing with people all the time to try and get it right. Insulation is hidden, so it's really difficult to quality control. If it's not done right, it's a lot of work to undo it. If people aren't bought into what you're doing, if they don't care about it, like, we come across properties all the time that have just been insulated terribly, and it just undermines the whole point of it. So that's kind of, I guess, where having our own team has kind of come into it as a point of necessity. The grant landscape So I'm maybe going a bit off here.
No, go on. You've got the time you want, so you can develop. That's what the podcast is meant for.
We've learned a lot about the grant landscape as well. Like there is what you can get grant funding for, and Trustmark past 2030. These are really difficult bars to reach as a contractor. I don't think we'd appreciated that at the time, and having your own team in house and being able to oversee quality and all of those aspects is pretty key, I think, to being able to deliver those works as well under the grant funded schemes. And I think we've learned a hell of a lot about what makes people tick and at what points people want to retrofit their homes. I think initially, probably naively, we thought, yeah, we'll offer this whole service. You can take your home from a leaky gas house to like an energy efficient with solar panels and a heat pump all in one hit. But that's expensive to do. It's disruptive to do if you don't have somewhere else to move to. So we have picked up a few projects in that nature, but they're a bit more few and far between. And where we found there's real demand is in people wanting to upgrade their homes incrementally. So one room at a time, bit by bit, make a 10-year plan, work towards that 10-year plan. And then you can do that in, I guess, 4 different visits. You can do your bathroom at the point you want to redo your bathroom, likewise with your kitchen. So we've kind of, I guess, adapted to try and tackle the problem of retrofit in stages to make it manageable for people. So part of that is having an amazing way of dealing with customers, like your manner when you're in someone's house, surface protection, all these kind of things, getting them right. Yeah, we often talk about like the process of putting your surface protection or your how you demolish a wall, getting it ready for insulation is almost that methodology, and improving that is just as important as the clever stuff you can do offsite to make it click together quickly. Yeah, trying to innovate it from both sides.
There's so many questions I want to ask you.
Sorry,
but I don't know.
didn't really
Have you
answer
got
the
anything?
question.
Well, yeah, I was pondering. I had time to think whilst you were going on, but no, like I think you're absolutely right. Like the idea was the concept of the business was about 4 years ago, and actually, yeah, we incorporated it almost exactly 3 years ago. The business was incorporated, and then it was about a year of transition in terms
So
of.
you incorporated it. You may not be allowed or be able to communicate on this, but you created it whilst you were still employed. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's we were open with our employers, and actually we transitioned by reducing working days. Transparently with our previous employers. So actually, I think it's fair to say that both employers that we were with at the time were actually very, very accommodating and supportive, which was fantastic. And I don't think we could have done it any other way, just in terms of taking that step.
Oh, it's amazing if you have that luxury to be able to do this. Say to your employer, "I want to create my company, but can I stay for another 6 months or a year whilst it's up and running, and then I can go." I don't think many employers would agree this.
Yeah, I think it probably comes down to the people in the business. And to be fair, yeah, I think both companies, Bouygues and Situ, like there was I guess like a mutual respect, and that's built up over time. As as a member of staff who's committed a lot to the business, and I'm sure the same for Jamie. It was really, really nice to actually also receive that back and not just be met with a, you're in or you're out. Yeah, it was. I don't think it would have been it would have been very difficult to have got up and running on the business otherwise. Just you've got to live, you got to pay bills.
And so when did you start to, when did you leave? At what point of Wrapt did you leave?
It was so
We got the first Innovate UK grant.
Yeah, we got an Innovate UK grant, which I can't remember the name of it. It was a relatively small sort of phase 1 grant that was effectively a funded process to submit a more detailed proposal. So a phase 1 grant.
What was the amount? Can you tell? No worries if you can't.
Yeah, no. It was about £20,000, some of which was subcontracted costs. So we were paying a subcontractor to provide data and support and
What sort of, sorry, can you detail the subcontractors' roles?
Yeah,
It's Leeds Beckett University. Yeah, so I think we sort of went in for it in sort of part, and yeah, so they were named on the bid. The bid was about how could you retrofit a housing stock in a through voids, like when a property is vacant, like could you set up a voids program to retrofit a housing stock? And so Leeds Beckett were doing a lot of the kind of data but behind it, and Unity Housing Association in Leeds were also using them, I guess, as a bit of a case study as to how we would do that. So it's with the two. Yeah. So that kind of getting that initial phase one, I guess it gave us a bit of definitely like a morale boost. Like, oh, there's credibility behind this. And yeah, a bit of, I guess, income to kind of make that first step. And I guess in parallel with that, we got our first commission from a housing association, which was again with Unity Housing Association, which came off the back of the demonstration house I mentioned. So those two coming in parallel, whilst we were still working, at least 3 days a week in our jobs. That kind of it was feeling overwhelming at that point. I think for me, actually, I asked if I could then reduce to 2 days. And then, my manager was like, I think it's probably, you should probably just go for it. So like without, anticipating, I came home that evening called Colin. I was like, I think I've handed in my notice. So yeah, hadn't it sort of sprung off on me. But yeah, they were very encouraging, to go for it, basically.
I'll ask the question, but explain more. How long did you not pay yourself a salary for between the time you left to the time you paid yourself the first salary? For me, it was about a year because I wasn't expecting this, and obviously we had to do everything. I incorporated the company just after I left, so it was pretty tough.
Yeah.
And I was told you should expect at least like 6 months, a year, or maybe 2 years, and I wasn't believing them. Even if we were making money from the start, paying us for salary is very different.
I think it was February. So we started paying ourselves.
yeah. Just trying to figure it out in my head now. The timelines. Yeah, it was probably in and around a year, or like 6 months to a year. I can't actually fully remember, but yeah, it was it's a bit of a slog.
Yeah. And when did you start like doing the work yourself, so you were straight away subcontracting contractors to do the main work, and you were supervising and running the company as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I think Jamie and I are under no illusions. Like, he's an architect. I'm a surveyor by background. Like, we are not tradespeople. So, like, we've always employed either by subcontract or direct employment the people with the right skills to do the work. Obviously, when we say working, like, we obviously do deliver. Like, so something I didn't mention was part of the career transition before we went full time is that I trained as a level 5 retrofit coordinator, basically, which is the sort of government standard qualification if you're providing advice, certainly in sort of project management of large scale retrofit projects under the past 2035 framework. So we, and Jamie obviously is a qualified registered architect, we were also delivering like advice and architectural services. So in that sense, that work we were delivering, but anything on site has always been the trades. Obviously, sometimes we will run around with a hoover and sweep up and and work alongside the team to support them and also to gain insight. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be pretty hard, to be honest, to do your job as an architect and provide architectural services, but also be on site at the same time and supervising, making sure the work is done correctly, keeping the quality work.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think we both really enjoyed it, the opportunity, because actually the early days, the first 6 months or so, we were on site a fair bit. Like, I get, a lot of it was just, just predominantly tidying sites up. right? Like during construction or at the end, cleaning windows down or hoovering, but then just moving stuff, logistics, that kind of stuff. Yeah, quite enjoyed being out and about, not being behind a computer. The bit that is definitely challenging is the sometimes having to wear both hats, of construction, but then also design, because they are often in conflict with one another, and they don't always have to be in conflict with one another. And like those are the bits I love, when you can actually do something really simple. It's really easy to do, and it makes such a design impact. Like those little decisions or things you can do, but then sometimes they do kind of come into conflict, and you've kind of got two parts of your brain being like, this would look better, this is much easier to do.
From my own experience of getting a builder, but it was disturbing to have a person who would just project manage, and that's it, and they wouldn't do any manual work. And it's my only and sole view of it. Maybe you've got a different perspective, that's why I'm mentioning it. And so any problem, any quality problem, they can't fix it because they're not doing anything, or they can't come and give a pair of hands because they need to accelerate the process. And that's really, as a customer point of view, it's really nerve-wracking. So especially if when you appoint them and you say, right, you're not the cheapest, but we've got small children, we would like you to be quick, because we can't live in a 3x3 living room with two really young kids who the only desire is to jump around constantly, and who come back from school and nursery really tired and screaming their head off, and you have to manage them within that 9 square meters. What's your view on this?
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand that. I think, we are dealing with the fact of the matter that we are not tradespeople, and it's also, it's about getting the right people in the right place. I think what I would say is that the big fundamental that we really felt is the direct employment of people, the right people, the people who embody our values and the ethos of the business, people who care, and bringing them into the team and really so it's not just Jamie and I, it's anonymous people who turn up. It's Wrapt, and it's our amazing team on the site, and those people are accountable, skilled, and care. So that's been the big, and I guess we've been very lucky in who we've recruited from the get-go, in that we've built a team of people who fit that profile. We've got a great operations manager, foreman, who is a joiner of 15 years and is that person that you're talking about, Mark. The person will hold a project. He will accelerate projects if need be. He will pick up the tools on. We oversee multiple projects, and Matt, our operations manager, is involved in all of them. But if need be, he can sort of help to push things along. But it's not just Matt, obviously. It's everybody else in the team as well.
At what point did you realise that you really had to have that model?
I mean, I think the realization probably hit maybe very early on, probably in the first month or two. It took a little bit of time to turn that around to implementing it from a pipeline cash flow.
How do you manage? How do you manage it?
Well,
by the way, how did you?
Yeah, so that's probably what delayed the process. We were talking about it from very early on, saying this doesn't feel right. Take it with subcontractors. We have no buy-in. We have no control over program. We have no control over the next job when the supply chain might be available to pick it. To do it, we're beholden to their pipelines. So yeah, we knew very early on, but then it's a case of building the pipeline. We managed to secure a very large project that had at least 6 months of solid work that could absorb in the first instance 2 full-time employees. We could cash flow that. There was enough there to go at that, and that was our trigger point to hire, was, signing that contract, and then they effectively started the next day.
So you basically had a bit of a deposit from that project.
Exactly. We had
to
a
allow
client.
for the.
Yeah, exactly. We had a client deposit, and that started the ball rolling, basically.
Okay. So and now we'll talk about the development of the project later, but what sort of materials, I know the answer, but do you use, and why do you choose using them? And also, do you have any plans to use other materials?
Yeah, as a massive advocate of wood fiber yourself, yeah, we use a lot of wood fiber insulation. And then I think we came across that fairly early on. I guess I had a prejudice towards it from working at Situ, where that's the insulation used. Older properties have damp issues, and it's really common for, to managing damp to be just a part of the brief when insulating, I guess, anything with a solid wall. So quite quickly we came across, I mean, if you really interrogate it, the right thing to do on an older property is to use a breathable material, and one that can absorb moisture and buffer as well. Wood fiber, there are obviously lots of natural materials around. Wood fiber does seem to be the most kind of mass produced. So it's got kind of, I guess, relatively available and affordable price point as well. And
Do you
60 mil of
only
wood
use one single product, from one supplier, or multiple ones?
We've gone through a couple of different ones. So we started off using Styco products, and then now we're using a lot of lime green, which utilizes a same wood fiber board. But lime green make the lime that goes behind it and in front of it, basically. Yeah. But yeah, so and it seems to be 60 millimeters of wood fiber seems to be that sweet spot we've come across. Yeah, if you go less than that, you can do, but the price doesn't vary too much. If you go more than that, the risks start to increase. When you're getting into the realm of 80 mil, it seems to disrupt people's rooms a little bit more, and be slightly less appealing. With 60 mil of wood fiber, you get 75%, there or thereabouts, reduction in heat loss through the wall. So yeah, so 60 mil wood fiber does seem to be our go-to product. And it's something we're keen to do, is kind of try and find similar products that can be used on multiple houses to try and get that flow of, ordering materials, holding stock of materials. If you've got a limited palette you're working with, it makes things simpler.
Again, lots of questions. Why can you expand a bit more on the moisture aspect? So I presume wood fiber can hold the moisture, but can release it after, once it's in dry conditions. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So wood fiber will, it's a breathable material, but it's also hygroscopic, so it absorbs moisture out of the atmosphere. So in terms of on an older property, it will buffer. So if you, for example, you're in the kitchen, just a lot of people there, a lot of moisture, it will hold it rather than letting it go through into the wall and then release it back into the room. But it will also allow it to go through and into the wall if needed, and escape the house. It's probably worth saying to start with that when you insulate a room internally, you are increasing the damp risks, because you're making the existing wall colder, and cold surfaces attract condensation, basically. No matter how perfectly you're insulating a wall, if you leave gaps in it, you've always got risks of condensation occurring. So hence why using wood fiber just reduces all the risks of damp and mold. It's particularly around like your lintels, your floor joists, where you've got timber going through. That's where the mold can be pretty bad for the building. And then also, if you leave any spots throughout the property, then you'll get like condensation forming on your windows or those kind of things, which is just a health hazard for someone living in the building. So yeah, the big risk is moisture management, which wood fiber does brilliantly.
Are there any other materials that you could use? Obviously, more bio-based or non-bio-based.
Yeah, non-bio-based can use, you can use, well, rock wool and glass wool. They don't have that same hygroscopic quality, but they do let moisture through it. And then from a bio-based material, you've got, and I think we have looked at other ones. Yeah, you got hemp. You can use hemp insulation, hempcrete. Got sheep's wool you can use as well. We've used that in lofts as well.
Aren't they, obviously, they're probably more expensive as well?
Yeah, it is a bit more expensive. Yeah, and
What's the difference, the ratio, roughly? Do you know?
I can't tell you.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, one of the benefits of a wood fiber board is it comes as a rigid board, basically. So you can glue it onto a wall like a tile. Where the other ones, hemp and sheep's wool, they're not as dense, so you have to batten out, and fit them in between. But yeah, there does seem to be, there's definitely like an increase in natural materials coming to market. There's the Breather board. You might have interviewed him already from Adaptivate.
They've been invited for High Point, and
Okay.
we need to find a date.
Okay, great. And then, there's Indie Nature as well. They're doing stuff with hemp, and I think they are looking into making a rigid board. So we'd definitely be interested in that when it comes available. But wood fibers, basically, it all comes from Germany and Poland, it seems. But they use it loads there, so it's the prices are quite low because they've got big manufacturing processes in Europe.
Yeah, I spoke about this with Simon Corby or Paul Brannan. I can't remember. By the fact that there was very little wood fiber that was produced in the UK.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, they don't make the. I don't think they make any. Yeah, I might be wrong. They certainly don't make the rigid boards. There are people that are looking into doing it, I'm aware of, but I don't think there's any on the market at the minute.
Interesting. And so, what do you use? Do you say lime green provides the lime plaster?
Well, so Lime Green, I mean, they're a great company to work with, but also what they bring to the table is a certified system. It enables us to deliver, basically a product that can deliver a 25-year warranty against it. So their system is the lime adhesive for the backboard, and also the substrate. There's lime products that are compliant with their system. The wood fiber and then the finishing lime is a package that is a certified system, which again is fairly unique in terms of having that certification and the 25-year warranty attached to it. So it's a very good product to align with, and they happen to be a great company to work with as well in terms of just as a supply chain partner. They're very interested in what we're doing. Obviously, our success will hopefully
It's their success.
is in their interest, but they kind of convert on that in terms of it's not just sort of we're not just a sales number to them. I think that they do care about our growth.
What you're doing and your mission.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of found the lime green product, maybe in the first instance as a sort of like necessity because it's got this certified system. But the more we worked with them, it's worked pretty well so far. So they're based down in Shropshire. And I guess their core business is lime, selling lime. Sort of hints in the name. But they've produced insulation system, including internal wall insulation systems, for quite a long time. So they've got an in-house technical team developing products and so on. So they're also very an innovative company coming up with new products all the time as well. So it's good to be close to other innovative companies in the space as well. Get first sort of dibs.
Yeah. How sustainable is the lime or their product?
Well, it's interesting. They're going to be they're doing work on that in terms of the carbon footprint, in terms of the embodied carbon, which they're producing currently, but they haven't published it yet. But they're sort of they've certainly, I think it's fair to say they've shared with us that they think that it's going to be quite compelling in terms of the embodied carbon of the system. I don't want to put something on the record that isn't like a fact, but that will certainly come across very favourably as a number, certainly comparative to other products and systems on the market. I think it will be very compelling.
Very quick one. How many are you now Wrapt before we carry on materials and products?
Last week.
As of last week,
We're 10.
10, yeah.
Pretty wide team now. And how many sites do you have? Can you work on
3 on the go
at
at any one
moment?
time. Yeah, that's been our, to be honest, this year has been our goal to go to 3 sites at any one time. We feel that's kind of a good kind of sweet spot to work at. Yeah, there is a lot. Yeah.
So the composition of the 10 is actually, so it will be 7 people site-based, and then 3 sort of Jamie and Precious, who's an architectural assistant in the team. So sort of 3 office-based and 7 site-based. And yeah, the sweet spot is 3 sites at any one time.
And what are your goals in terms of growing the team and growing your capabilities and your location? Have you got any ambitions?
We definitely have ambitions to grow the business. I think doing it in the first instance, we believe that like organic growth is the best way for us as a business. So we're getting things right and then growing the right thing, as opposed to kind of chasing around sort of big numbers, far too soon. So but we do have ambitions to grow regionally, but what we want to do and our focus this year is like essentially getting like the formula right. So we see it 3 to 4 sites, and I guess we'll understand that in the coming months. 3 to 4 sites at any one time organizationally is a good structure in terms of having the right management on site, quality assurance, and then having essentially that overhead covered by having enough projects on the go at any one time. So that model is something that we want to get right before we then think about replicating that, either expanding it within Yorkshire, because naturally that will be the easiest way to grow, is where people are geographically in the same space, but then also by essentially kind of carbon copying it to a different region altogether. We need to make sure that what we're carbon copying is right, it works, it makes profit, and there's the right methodologies and ways of working and rule books for that to make it work.
Yeah.
And that just takes time, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves either. We need to make sure that what we're doing works first, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very hard because you can get very itchy feet as well. You don't have to answer all those questions if you can't. Have you had any offers of investments because it's fairly big market, and you said it earlier, and they may be companies interested in take part of it, who want to help you as well in exchange of some equity, or have you had any approaches, or are you looking for this at all?
No, we've not been approached, but it's also at the minute it's not something we've not been looking for it. I guess, trying to grow the business organically at the moment. But yeah, no one's offered us anything.
Well, if you're listening to this, if you're an investor.
Yeah, I mean, I think but one of the things, I guess, currently like what we deliver is essentially consultancy, and then the delivery, like direct delivery of like, I guess, like construction. I guess in the sort of investment front, which it does have a value, and I think if you build the right team and the right ways of working, like that does obviously have a value, and there's a brand value as well. But in terms of like third-party investor, I think that I guess it's the potentially more innovative things that we might be looking to develop. So like looking at the pre-manufacturing of internal wall panels, other maybe services that could be much more scalable, much more quickly. Maybe where there's a lot more IP at play, as opposed to like a more general contracting, design and build sort of, model, which is, although we're niche, I think in what we deliver, I guess it's less novel in terms of as a thing to do. So yeah, don't know. Yeah, bit of a very roundabout answer there, but I don't know. At the same time, it's not something that we long for. I think, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not like, oh, we need to get venture capital in and be in Europe in two years' time or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and scale is the only answer to, I think what we want to do is get, I don't know. I know I'm a bit of perfectionist, but just get the fundamentals right.
Yeah, me and Colin are polar opposites. So yeah, probably fair to say. Yeah, Colin's probably I don't know how to say it.
No,
Yeah.
I get what you mean, because we're exactly in the same situation. Big announcement. We're just merging. Education is merging with another company. It's basically a new director visible to Education, though, and I'm very glad that we're doing this. Not only because we can grow, but also because associate business partner is called Tony. So Tony is very thorough, and he's so much more operational and making me think about things that I've never thought about, or thinking twice or a little bit more about things. And this is absolutely essential, as much as somebody who wants to go fast. And there's nothing wrong about going fast. There's nothing wrong about staying backwards. You need both, and it's probably a good mix and good compatibility, as long as you respect each other.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's it. Like, I would never have started Wrapt on my own, to be honest, because I would have been stuck in the weeds, and Jamie's drive
Too fast and would have crashed.
Definitely we'd be bankrupt. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Wasn't around.
But yeah, like, and that midway meeting in the middle, hopefully is the right place to land. Like, we need to drive forwards, we need to push and keep on, but at the same, and not get stuck in the weeds, because yeah, I mean, it's my daily challenge is pulling myself out and actually looking at the big picture sometimes, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I've asked you the question about investments and investors, because one episode we have recorded but hasn't been published yet was with kind of a startup, and the other one that we discussed it on an episode with Paul Lynch from Eco Cocoon, who you may know about the company. But to me, investment is a no-no, because we know everything about venture capitalism, but obviously they gave a very different picture of investment, and they said, oh, our investors are very supportive and they're not breathing behind our neck. Just they let us do what we want, but they're also very helpful in providing help and maybe network and stuff like this. So, it was a nice way and a different way to see the aspect of investment. Investors and growth, and sometimes you can't avoid, you can't avoid investment, because you need that initial cash to start up, especially if you start the production line, maybe.
Well, that's it. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the element where, like, we talk about organic growth, and I guess the point is that, like, there are different strands to the business almost, and certain elements we couldn't get flying if with investment. Certainly, like, probably with the more innovative, scalable things, like, yeah, if you're producing panels, like, yeah, there's a tipping point.
Which is the perfect transition to what you're doing. Can you talk a bit more? How you, obviously, it's kind of obvious, understanding why you started to think about producing your own panels. Yeah, I'll let you, you've got time to detail it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can start probably at Yeah, probably at a high level, it's probably the reason we started Wrapt was to do this kind of innovation. So yeah, it's very exciting to be at the stage now where we're in the midst of doing it. But yeah, what we're developing essentially is a pre-manufactured wall insulation system. So what that involves is what the experience will be for the customer will be someone will turn up at your house and they'll do a survey of the wall. They'll use an iPhone to do that using LiDAR on it. Then that will be converted into a cutting list off-site. All the panels will be made up, pre-finished, and cut to size. And then in a day, what we want to do is, this is in a one-day service, a team of 3 will come to one room of your house and insulate it, and you'll have that room back by the evening. And that really comes down to that need we've seen of incremental retrofit that is less disruptive. So that's what we're working towards. So yeah, so what's involved in that, what we want the system to be is we want it to use wood fiber. We want it to be breathable. We need the finishing layer to also be breathable as well. So that we can't use just regular gypsum plasterboard, but at the same time, we can't tolerate drying times of lime. You might not know that lime takes 2 weeks to dry before you can paint it.
Crazy. No, I didn't know that.
But yeah, so a lot of the work we're on at the minute is just trying to develop this pre-finished board, and then it's also, as much as it's part of that that technology element, which is very much so the scanning and cutting list technology. We're working with the AMRC at Sheffield University to develop that part of the technology. Then yeah, so as much as that technology side as it is the methodology of working on site, like there's going to be a lot of things that maybe. Yeah, like surface protection. How do you maintain carpets? How do you maintain cornicing, sockets, all those kind of things that you come across on external walls? Cornices, yeah, the list goes on. There's quite radiators, but yeah, creating a very comfortable service for someone as well. So the demolition, you need to take the plaster off the wall as well. So there's quite a lot of dust and messy work involved in that, and trying to find the right kit we can use to do that.
So you basically will scan the rooms, and it will come up with the panels, or in a model it will show the different panels and say where the cuts need to be, and that will be given to the machine or to people on site, and they will know exactly what they need to produce. Is that right?
Yeah, we want all the panels cut before they arrive on site. Yeah. To say at the minute, we're doing it all a little bit more DIY. We've got a shipping container in Leeds where we're making all the panels, basically. So it is a bit more DIY.
That's where we start, where we all start.
Exactly.
Garages and shipping containers.
And then we're working we're involved in a Let Zero Innovate UK project where we're doing a demonstration house of that technology as well. We've already done one wall, and we've got, I think, about 6 walls to go in that house.
Interesting. I presume you're only targeting home retrofits, like, well, I guess private projects.
Yeah, at the moment we're very much building the business on homeowners, but yeah, longer term and hopefully this year we'll be doing a lot more with housing associations and in the private rented sector as well. So yeah, the private rented sector has the worst quality homes in the UK from an energy efficiency point of view. It's the most difficult sector to get, basically, because yeah, obviously
Why is
tenants
that?
don't want Sorry?
Why is that?
It's isn't it? Sort of cost benefit, the landlords, and there's lots of them. We come across quite a lot, conscientious landlords, but ultimately it's an investment, and numbers need to stack, and they're installing the insulation, paying for the installation of the insulation, but they're not benefiting from the energy savings. So there's a financial disconnect for one.
Oh, that's true.
And then there's also a big challenge, and one of the things that we're hoping to address, it's both for the private rented and social housing sector, is the disruption factor as well. So if you were to, using best practice, which we believe we are with the wood fiber and the lime, do all that on site, the time frame, it could be sort of 5-6 weeks, say, at least. That's a void. That's all time that you're not receiving rent as well. So there's a lot of economic factors that push against the decision making to actually, install, internal wall insulation to a rented property, because it's very,
There's something that I researched for just before doing the episode with Simon Colby from the ASBP, who you may know. But it says that domestic private rented property is it a law that has passed, or is it something that the government is thinking of putting in place? Apparently, the energy efficiency of rented homes, should be EPC band C by 2030. Are you aware of this?
Well, there's let's say the water is what has been, certainly there's a real, under the previous government, muddying of the waters around that requirement, and limbo land after that, in terms of what is, because there was, I can't remember exactly, it was Rishi Sunak at the time had made an announcement that effectively it was being abolished, but then there's very little in papers and government published documentation to corroborate, if that's the right word. Really muddy waters around that requirement. I think essentially the new government is reinstating that requirement. Yes, so that is a sort of, there's a stick.
Is it something that is in place, or is the government is thinking of putting in place? I can look into it if you want.
I'm not 100% sure, because I heard someone else say this. It might, if it is in place, it will have only just come in the last month or two, basically, because it was certainly scrapped in autumn 2023. That requirement.
It's looking, but
Minimum energy efficiency standard is called. But yeah,
But probably the opposite is in social housing, where they've had an EPC by 2030 target for a long time. They're making real inroads in it. And obviously they're larger organizations. They've got the headspace to kind of tackle the problem, that it's significantly better than the private rented housing stuff.
Well, and obviously with the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund as well, SHDF, which is significant, consistent funding waves going out to housing associations to essentially drive their stock up to an EPCC. Yeah, is been like, that's the minute you introduce consistency, right? And long term, both the carrot and the stick, so the grant funding and the ultimate sort of deadline, it bears fruit. It's not been perfect. Like, the SHDF has been under various waves, which criteria changes as well, so it's not perfect, not been perfect, but nevertheless, I guess housing associations, it's a serious pot of money that they, not all, but a large number put resources into obtaining and delivering. And there's an industry built around it with large organizations like Equon, and Waits, for example, who deliver a lot of those works. It's all large scale.
Since that it's not a requirement yet, the current requirement is to. But maybe if people know about it and they listen to it, they can put something in the comment. This is something to be fact checked, obviously.
The one thing we can probably talk about is the Innovate UK project we're involved in is called Let Zero, and that's about upgrading the private rented sector, and it's creating a kind of service that does that in South Yorkshire. We actually, it's kind of going about trying to tackle all the different issues, and then also the grant funding, and trying to navigate people, because it's a complicated thing to navigate. I think one of the bits of research that came out of that project is actually most landlords have, I think, three properties or less. So they don't always, it's maybe they've become accidental landlords. They've inherited it. They're not building experts. They don't necessarily have the headspace to navigate it. So trying to make that process easier.
Okay, interesting.
And there's, the big challenge, and I guess it's the private market to an extent as well, although there's eco funding and so on. But the big challenge is there's not necessarily such an industry geared up to serve that market. Your big contractors who you kind of mop up the social housing decarbonisation work. they're just like a new build. They're not building one house at a time. They do scale. But the reality is that these clients, lots of them own 5, 3, 1 property. So it's a very tricky market to serve. Yeah, it's like when we talk about wicked problems, the private rented sector, decarbonising that, I think, is like a real. There's so many factors that are pulling people in different directions, different beneficiaries. It's the dynamics are so complex, but it's massive. It's massive in terms of decarbonisation. It's massive in terms of that's where the poorest quality housing is. And it's not just from energy perspective, because it's health, which frankly you could, lots of people do, and maybe rightly so, place that at higher level. Like, it's the health and well-being of the residents. And like that is at its extremity, is this can be fatal. And that's not exaggerating, because there's really tragic cases, that have been attributed to mold and damp. But it's not, and they're shocking. But it's actually really widespread. It's there's asthma, there's breathing, there's children growing up in these environments. It's their health and well-being. It's also their attainment. It's their opportunities in life, because if you're going home to do your homework and you're studying and you're in a cold, damp property, how are you expected to retain information, learn, want to? Your environment isn't conducive to learning, developing in a positive way. It's really deep rooted, that, and I guess that's like when you layer that into the issue that we're dealing with. Like it kind of, for me, it really brings it home, and like actually like starts to get the fire in the belly, or the certainly, like, well, it can get you a bit, well, very frustrated as well with maybe the way we like flip flop a lot, certainly politically, and like the environments people are living in, like, is such a massive factor at play, and in the society that we live in. Should we not be doing something about that and taking a bit more sort of bull by the horns? And unfortunately, the private rented sector is the worst impacted and most difficult one to address.
Definitely. Going back on the boards you're developing, what's the volume or the quantities you're able to produce at the moment? I know you're doing it yourself, so you're getting help from other people you're recruiting, and are you going to raise or apply for some grants to develop your capabilities? What's the plan?
So currently, what's kickstarted the process of the panels is the Innovate UK funding, so the Let Zero project. So the overarching project, which is a consortium of different organisations led by South Yorkshire, is the creation of a one-stop shop directly serving the private rented market. But sort of as a sub-strand of the grant, we have funding to develop the wall system. So the research and the development process is funded as part of that bigger project, where we kind of wear a few different hats. So it's a real opportunity for us right now to be iterating and developing the processes for the wall panel. Our current rate is about 14 a day.
That's about one room, one wall of one room.
Yeah, and that's fine for now, because we're at the product development stage, and 1 room in 1 day for our capacity is all that we would need to. The next stage is really proving that there's a market for the product, that we can sell it, basically sell the service, sell the solution to different clients, be it private or housing associations or whoever it is. Before we start looking at like mass production and producing hundreds of panels, we need to prove that our concept delivers, and we're able to like get that, remove those barriers that currently are getting in the way of people committing to doing IWI, internal wall insulation, in their properties.
A very naive question. Have you ever thought about producing your own wood fiber, or is it too difficult? Does that require too much?
I think it would be not looked into it. I assume it would be too difficult. But what we're doing is the idea is to use an existing board and then apply the finishing layers to that, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we're trying to solve, I guess, one problem at a time. And I guess the production of the wood fiber panels isn't necessarily where there's a pinch point, other than the fact that surely there's enough, byproduct and timber products in the UK but maybe the market isn't big enough to justify the setup of the production, But getting our hands on the board isn't really necessarily the problem. It's all the other bits that need solving.
Yeah. I think we've spoken about your future plans and developments. That was the last question I had. But I saw, out of interest, I saw on your website you had a system where you can book free consultations or services that you need to pay. How is it going? Because we're trying the same.
Yeah, like I said, so like this is where we really believe we need. There's multiple opportunities to do things differently, to innovate, and so on. And the internal wall insulation board pre-manufactured is one of them. It's quite a big. You're looking at production and system certifications, and it's a big tanker. Hopefully, big results, big big outcomes, but at the same time, big costs to get there as well. So, but also looking at other interventions and other services. So, like we've launched recently, like a draft busting, call it.
Yeah,
service, for example, which is a much really just cognizant of price points and the ability for more people to be able to access energy efficiency and comfort. And actually, one of the most cost-effective things that you can do is just addressing draft. Really simple, but you need all the right. And that's something you can DIY it. Lots of people think they can DIY it, and they'll think they can DIY it for years and never do it. Because actually, you need to go out to this builder's merchant to get this, and then another builder's merchant to get that, and before you know it, it's a big undertaking, and you got your life to get on with. Whereas, two things that we can bring to the table, or probably multiple, but is people with skills that we have in house, plasterers, joiners who know how to work with sealant and make joinery adjustments to address drafts. We also have tools like a leak detection fan, for example, a product that's Build Test Solutions have produced that we are able to justify investing in because we can use it for quality assurance on our on-site projects, and actually we can use that to, with a thermal camera, identify drafts in a property and really make a meaningful difference in a day at a price point that is way more accessible. I don't know, innovations like that, a service, basically, it's not a product, it's really a service that we think there's not. There are offers out there, and draft excluding is a service, but making more of it. Using the fan, using the and creating a more of a product that people can get. They understand it. It's a bit more people go, all right, okay, to enough extent that they're willing to spend the money on it. And to be honest, they should get the payback pretty quick.
Do you get a lot of requests from this?
So we've kind of launched it. It's something that we've toyed with for a little while, and we've done different versions of it for but yeah, we launched it about a month ago. We've got 1, 7, 8, 9, I think 9 of which we've completed And so we've completed 3, and then there's 7 more point of booking.
Yeah, it's a lot better than we expected. It's the uptake's been pretty good, and then I think also the people we've done the service for have loved it, and like they've really enjoyed being able to experience the drafts because it exaggerates all the drafts in your house, and it's kind of, I guess, set them on a bit of a journey on their own retrofit, because it might be, through doing the draft busting service, you can't sort the floor, but then it makes them think, maybe I'll sort the floor when I do the kitchen. And it's a very impactful way of getting people to understand the energy efficiency in their home.
I think that's a really good point, actually. Which is quite exciting about it, is like it's experiential. So, like, ideally, actually, the clients are there when we're carrying out the service, because what we've the way in each of the ones actually we've been to, it's often like, oh, wait a minute, like, where's this coming from? And you feel the air often billowing because the fan really does a good job at pulling the air out. So it's really, you can feel it. And it's in areas, it's like putting your face up to a hairdryer. It's like just billowing out, and you'll go and maybe go to the client and say, do you just want to have a quick look at this? And they'll come through and they'll just be blown away by, like, oh my god. And you take blown out, you take back some panels from the bath, and look, you can see daylight. There's been holes obliterated in the side of the wall by the plumber when they when the bathroom was fitted, for example, and you've just got some very loose paneling covering it, and so on. But that experience that the client, like, really, I guess it's probably sets things off, endorphins or whatever. They're just, oh my god, and off the back of that, they have a real kind of glow afterwards, thinking, well, we've identified that and we've made an impact and we've changed. Great.
Yeah, there's it's quite, you forget that you can basically buy products or buy services from your main service. And it's something we are discovering as well. To not, there's our main advice or our main profession, and then you can sell a lot of really side services, side products.
I mean, I guess from your perspective, acoustic is almost, I mean, I'm assuming it's almost a bit easier because it is much more perceptible at time, like in terms of like the acoustic, you're able to like create a noise and understand, or, the relative difference. Whereas like often with insulation, like, what is much less immediately perceptible sometimes, or drafts, a way of making it perceptible can potentially be a way of game changing the whole thing. And that's what innovation's all about, is just changing the game, changing the way people experience or perceive benefits.
Yeah. Well, definitely, you can definitely hear the difference with acoustics. What we're doing specifically is that this is not another little sales pitch as well from me, but there's creating another branch of our education law called the Acoustic Design Library, where it's mostly going to be based on education and solution finding, but we're going to help suppliers launch a service where we can help suppliers and manufacturers develop their products and certify them well for acoustics, and say they've got this, how can they improve it to make it achieve what we need on the local regulations or from the local codes or standards. And obviously we forgot that a lot of suppliers need like at least 1 hour probably of review of their data to see if it's good and have an initial idea, and something we didn't realize until somebody told us. Actually, you could just sell 1 hour of service and provide a small report, and that's it. Instead of doing a whole assessment and it's really hard to get on a big project as well for you and big service, but you can get also all those little satellite services that will feed your cash flow as well. But and that may also lead to other projects or other commissions, which sounds to be exactly the same, exactly what's happening for you guys. If you do a small draft service, then maybe you can have a discussion, and you may your clients will be more aware of what they need to do, and they can ask you questions on site. So
that 100, I mean, nearly well, not all, but the vast majority of those draft busting jobs have led to work,
There you go.
because you're informing the client and they're learning about how their property works. So,
Yeah.
and
And it's also a very nice way to do it, because you're not like I'd say too cringe or a bit like, oh, come on and we've got fantastic solutions. You come and show what you can provide, and it's actually really needed. So then, and you do it very subtly.
exactly, yeah, because I
I
mean,
like that
trust.
approach.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all about trust and relationship. Like anything in somebody's home, like, is so heavily reliant on trusting relationship, and also, yeah, like that kind of, like, especially in energy efficiency industry, like, people do not want to feel like they're getting something imparted on them. So if you're able to show them, and have them experience or see the benefits and the issues of, the property might have, then that opens the door to them making a decision about maybe other things, other changes.
We're reaching the end. I don't know if there's any other projects you would like to talk about or anything else.
I mean, yeah, we've been working also in
Development.
another project in York, that's actually another Innovate UK funded project, although we are a subcontractor rather than directly funded by Innovate UK, and we're delivering the show homes for a one-stop shop concept that is being taken forward in York, that's really interesting and got, I think, a lot of promise. It's essentially really driven at removing non-technical barriers to the uptake of retrofit, and a lot of that is to do with marketing, brand recognition, and trust building, which the local authority can be centred to, but also actually local organisations like York Community Energy, who are a not-for-profit organisation who provide advice to people. So this kind of unbiased hand holding for the customers, coupled with a really impressive marketing drive, which again is looking at the information space rather than over technical sort of solutions. It's about how do you get people on board and on the journey. And there's been a great organisation called Bright Sparks who are driving that for the one-stop shop, which is called Your Energy. And yeah, that's been a really exciting project to be part of as well. That is the project's kind of like 2/3 of the way in terms of the Innovate UK funding, and it's really growing in momentum. From what I can see, is like a real blueprint potentially for as a one-stop shop, whether it's local authority led or not, is maybe a question. But like, there's potentially a bit of a blueprint for this service that drives the marketing and customer journey. That's just been really exciting to be a part of as well. And yeah, Your Energy, YOR Energy. If you want to look them up, they've done a fantastic job at sort of customer facing, customer journey focused approach. And yeah, kind of maybe watch this space, I think, on that front. Yeah, the team who've built this one-stop shop have quite big ambitions to expand it. So yeah, definitely one to watch.
How can we get in touch with you if people are interested? Obviously, there's the website, which is wrapt-homes.co.
So yeah, that's Wrapt. So WRAPT homes, .co.uk. And I mean, Jamie and myself, I'm Colin, so Colin at wrap-homes.co.uk, and Jamie at wrap-homes. But if you go onto the website, there should be contact details there, phone number and email.
Yeah, probably worth saying in terms of always open to like collaborations with other companies in the same space. So if anyone's listening and wants to collaborate on something, we're based in Leeds, Yorkshire, so it's difficult for us to do too much outside that region. But always interested in collaborations if they're innovative or
And then
Great.
social media as well.
Yeah.
LinkedIn,
Go on.
LinkedIn, Facebook. We're growing our Facebook following.
Now, so you can join that elite club.
But yeah, we're just
Instagram?
driving. We're trying to build a more consistent presence on social media. We do a lot on LinkedIn already, so do give us a follow on that. Wrapt. But yeah, also Instagram and Facebook. We're trying to build that up. So yeah, do us a favor, give us a follow.
Yeah. Beware of the scammers. We just got scammed our Instagram accounts for
All right.
the high point for the podcast actually. So if there's any followers, by the way, who listen to this and they received a message, seriously apologize. But yeah, so we're republishing all our posts, but they deleted everything, which crazy.
Maybe we don't want to be associated with your Instagram.
Well, let's see. We know the trick now. It was a really nice trick they got us into. I think I'm aware of it now. But anyway, that will probably be described in another episode. But yeah, thank you very much. It's really interesting, great to see Wrapt growing. Really hope you're going to grow even more. Sounds like you are. So all the best. And I'll
Thank you,
probably
Mark.
see you soon at some point.
Thanks for having us on. Yeah, always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for having us. And then hopefully we can still show you around one of the properties you mentioned next time you're in York or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in York. Let's say once every 2 months. Great. Well, I'll see you soon, guys.
Cheers. Take care.